and the Masters of the Universe. I am Adam, Prince of Eternia and defender of the secrets of Castle Grayskull. This is Cringer, my fearless friend. Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said, "By the power of Grayskull!" Cringer became the mighty Battle Cat, and I became He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Only 3 others share this secret. Our friends, the Sorceress, Man-at-Arms, and Orko. Together we defend Castle Grayskull from the evil forces of Skeletor.
Hello, this is OptimusSolo, and welcome to the 25th chapter in Tales of Eternia. With me for this journey into the Masters of the Universe franchise, as always, it's TFG1Mike. Hello.
Hello.
Are you ready for more Powers of Grayskull, sir?
Yeah, we got 20 episodes left of this show.
Dun, dun, dun. Very true. And in this episode of Tales of Eternia, we'll be giving you our thoughts on episode 72, The Good Shall Survive, episode 73, Day of the Machines, and episode 74, The Cat and the Spider. So we hope you're ready, because it's time to go back to Eternia.
Only a few more containers to go and we'll be finished for the season. Oh, that's the last honey container. Good work, everybody. This harvest of honey will last our colony all winter. Buzz-Off will be very proud of our work. Let's go home.
Oh, free! Free at last!
Where are they? Tycons. But I thought Tycons were extinct. I think someone forgot to tell them.
We start today with episode 72, The Good Shall Survive, written by Richard Pardee, air date Wednesday, September 19th, 1984. A leak in the bee people's honey harvest flows underground and awakens the Tycons from their rocky cocoons. Skeletor decides to enlist the help of the Tycons by offering them more honey. He hopes they will raid the palace's food supply and starve his enemies. He-Man prevents the Tycons' raid on the honeycomb. Tykor blasts He-Man unconscious and raids the king's food warehouse while the palace is defenseless. The baking soda pie Orko made sickens the Tycons and makes them vulnerable. He-Man, Man-at-Arms, and Buzz-Off approach the Tycons about becoming friends, and Tykor realizes Skeletor has been deceiving him. He-Man, Tykor, and Buzz-Off storm Snake Mountain to find the remains of the palace's food supply and to defeat Skeletor. So for the Masters, we have Buzz-Off, as well as the regulars, including the King and the Queen in this one. And then the Evil Warriors, we have Skeletor, Webstor, and Cobra Khan. The PSA is He-Man and Orko. Basically, it's saying about the right ways and the wrong ways of getting what you want. I thought it was a good example here. If someone has something you want, say a toy you'd like to play with, don't just take it. That's stealing, and you're going to make the other person angry. But if you ask rather than take, or if you offer to share something in return, things can go usually pretty much better. The Oracle fun facts really weren't worth mentioning for this episode, but what did you think about... I didn't think so. Not for this one.
Okay. All right. Well,
more so for the other 2 episodes that we'll talk about today.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. This one. I like this one. It's interesting. We finally get a new character that we haven't seen before, even though I knew he was coming. We finally get Buzz-Off.
Right.
So I thought that was really cool. Finally, anyone else other than Beastman and Trapjaw. Anybody else?
This is the first time we've seen Webster in Cobra Con?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
So that's cool.
Yeah, that's very, very cool.
So we get a variety of new people in this one.
Yes, the PSA when you're saying this, saying about the PSA that it's always good to ask instead of just take. All I can think of is all those kids that grew up in the late '80s, early '90s. Even us to a certain extent. Watching The Simpsons, Homer would always go yoink. It's like Homer Simpson's teaching us bad things. I know, I like this one. I think this is a really interesting one. It's a great setup for Buzz-Off to kind of introduce him. I would have preferred some sort of origin story. I do know, as I've said before in previous episodes of the podcast, that at one point I believe he and the Bird People, he and Stratos, have a fight over something or other. I forget what it is. It's probably some crop or some precious plant that is useful to both tribes. Of course, I could just be making this up. I don't remember, honestly. But no, this one was fun.
Yeah, I like the idea of the new blood as far as the characters go. I like the idea that there's, not just individual people that are from different tribes or races or species on the planet, that we actually have like the whole species there. So we have like the whole bee people, we have the whole whatever the Tycons are supposed to be. So I thought that was kind of cool that we had like feuding factions of like an actual whole species instead of just like one or two people. So I thought that was cool. Almost expected to see Stratos at some point, but obviously maybe we'll wait for that for a future episode. So yeah, I didn't mind the whole plot, and I think it's a good lesson as far as tying in with the PSA about not just taking what you want, and that's something that somewhat makes it unique to the episodes we watch. We haven't had really just someone who was just straight up trying to just steal stuff just because they need it to survive and going about it kind of the wrong way. They mentioned in the episode that they need to eat like 3 times their weight each day or something, which is ridiculous. That's a lot of stuff to have to eat.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't that they were just all out bad. They were just needing it to survive. It talked about how their species was close to extinction. There wasn't a lot of them left. So I thought there was a bunch of cool stuff thrown in this one. So a pretty enjoyable episode.
If I had to eat 3 times my weight, that would be 1,215 pounds. No, thank you.
Every day.
No, thank you. All right, so 1,215 times 365. You don't want to know what that number is.
So yeah, decent plot, decent PSA. They all tied together, decent characters. So let's see if that made us come up with a bunch of good stuff or not to say about episode 72, The Good Shall Survive.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a neat trick, Orko. Now show us your new transporting trick. Make this flower go from my hand to someplace else.
I'll try. Maybe this time it'll work. With a flower of beauty in Tyke's little hand, go to the urn on my command. Oops, I guess it's a little too much command.
Let me out of here!
Sorry about that, little pal.
Icons are coming. They are a whole harvest of honey. Where are they now? They're coming this way, looking for more honey.
We gotta get to the palace.
Good idea, Orko. I'll take our people to the safety of the high caves. You must go back to tell Buzz-Off and the others.
But I can't float as fast as they can fly.
Uncle Orko, try your transporting trick. Maybe it will work this time.
I don't know.
You must try. It's our only
The
hope.
Good Shall Survive, a title that actually fits the story. How about some highlights for you, my friend?
Awesome, the Bees and Buzz-Off premieres here, finally! Poor Cringer. Why is it I never like this part? Oh no, He-Man is sleeping on the job. I thought that was funny. The Bee Kid is the best kid in the entire series. Like, I kid you not. I don't know how many other children are coming in the rest of Season 2, but the Bee Kid is the most least annoying kid character out of this entire cartoon.
Interesting.
Love all the action with He-Man and Buzz-Off and Ty-Kor. I just the action in this was great. And Skeletor, I mean, anytime you can drop a future, even though it has nothing to do with the actor, a future Fire Marshal Bill type character into a vat of water or a fountain, that's always hilarious. That'll be in the post, ladies and gentlemen. Skeletor sitting in the fountain. And every time they have this stock footage of him when he's sitting down, every time I see it, all I can think of is, a female He-Man. That's all I can think of is the scene from The Secret of the Sword. I don't know why. What about you?
Obviously, I like the new blood finally that we got, like I mentioned before. Interesting, one of the Oracle fun facts actually says that they're like, this is a mistake because in the scene where Buzz-Off's sitting at the table with the king introduces him as a new friend and ally, but he had already been seen multiple times in season 2. Well, not true, because you're taking it in production order and not in the order that it aired. So if you watch it in the order that it aired, this is the first time Buzz-Off appears. That's why we're doing it this way. So the guy, Andy, whatever his name is, Mangold or whatever, messed that up on the Oracle Fun Facts for this episode because he was just thinking about it in production order. Ty-Kor had an interesting 3-person punch when he showed up at the Bee People's place. He literally punched and 3 people got hit by it. So he's quite the fighter there. I liked He-Man getting assertive there. He's like, out of my way, Skeletor, now. Usually he's not so aggressive, but he definitely was telling Skeletor what to do there. The baking soda pie, I thought that was somewhat interesting. Stomachache to ensue. I guess that's a neat little angle, I guess, that they took.
It's weird ass science. Like, this entire, I mean, we shouldn't be, surprised that by now, in the midst of season 2, that the science and all this and all that of how things work is ass backwards in this series. But I don't know if that would ever really work. I'm not sure.
I don't know what baking soda would have an effect on the cooking process. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
But either way, it's kind of just interesting that he's misread it and made something that you wouldn't really want to eat. And that, of course, since these guys are trying to eat a billion things, that they just ate it with no thoughts. So that's kind of a nice little touch. Like I said, a good PSA for the kids. We all went through where friends were trying to take toys or not share toys or this, that, and the other. So I thought it could definitely resonate with the kids that were watching this at the time, us included.
Absolutely.
And I also thought it was cool that they didn't just introduce Webster and Cobra Khan. They kind of showed a little bit of what they can do, too. Webster had the cool grappling hooks that he shot out. Cobra Khan had, the sleeping gas that he sprayed. So they did a little more than just show them. They kind of gave us a glimpse of different things and powers that they had, or abilities. So I thought that was cool.
And I think they've done that so far to this point with all of the characters, for most of the characters. At least the Evil Warriors, because I remember, one of the very first episodes Evelyn was in, we see she's magical. I mean, a Beastly Sideshow really shows off Beastman's powers.
Right, but sometimes it wasn't always necessarily right away.
Right.
Sometimes we had to wait for an episode that featured them type thing, where they gave us a glimpse of these two right away. So I like that. Anything else for Castle Grayskull?
Nope.
All right, let's see what nitpicks we have for The Good Shall Survive.
More honey, this way.
Tycons! How can that be? Perhaps we can use their services.
But how?
If we promise them all the food in the palace as a reward for their help...
Then all the food in the Eternia warehouse will be eaten.
Exactly! Then the king will be forced to hand over the secrets to Castle Grayskull, or the kingdom will starve. As for now, I'm going to the Evergreen Forest to meet our new friends.
All right, Snake Mountain is where we find ourselves for this part of the episode. For The Good Shall Survive, I'll go first. First of all, bad move by Battle Cat, causing He-Man to be knocked out, basically. So he could have probably thought that one out a little bit better. I thought the voices were terrible in this one, actually, especially on the bee people. Buzz Off, I was not expecting that voice for Buzz Off, and it really takes a character that looks pretty cool and makes him not as cool.
Yeah, that's his voice, though. That's going to be his voice the rest of the series.
I wish they would have picked a better voice for Buzz Off. I actually...
Wait, do you know off the top of my head? Do you know off the top of your head who it actually is under the vocoder, whatever it is, under the effects? Do we know who that is?
Well, I don't even hardly know if it's much effects. We've heard that voice somewhat before in a couple different side characters, so it's basically just someone using a very similar voice, but it just doesn't sound impressive enough to me to warrant, because I think Buzz Off has an actual cool look to him, and almost like, harken him to like Stratos. Obviously, we made that comparison a couple different times, but that's a look that I expect maybe a deeper voice, or I don't know, just something besides what we got. And I just think that possibly Alan Oppenheimer would do better than that. So he's a good voice actor. So
I think that for some reason, I want to, and maybe I have to go back and watch the next episode with him in it. I mean, obviously, whatever the next one is that he'll be in. I really do think part of it is vocal effects, though. I don't think that's like the metallic sound in his voice. I don't think that's Oppenheimer. I think that's some sort of machine effect.
Yeah. I also didn't like Linda Gary's voice for the kid. First of all, it confused me the whole episode. I was trying to figure out if that kid was supposed to be a boy or a girl.
Yeah, that was a little confusing.
So that was kind of weird. And then also thought that it was a little too easy for the whole good guy turn for Tykor. Like, I realized they were all sick to their stomach and whatnot, but it's just like, oh, He-Man and Buzz Off will just come in and be like, hey, you should be good, and he'll be like, okay, I'll be good now. That was a little too quick. It wasn't that easy, but it sure didn't take him much convincing. So that was a convenient thing for making the episode not go too long, I guess. And then a complete nitpick, but how did He-Man get that far into Snake Mountain undetected? He's literally in Skeletor's, like, main, whatever you want to call it, control room, office, like, Grand Central Station. He just, like, walks right in there with nobody knowing and just being like, apparently Snake Mountain needs to get up their defenses a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I really only had one problem with this episode. Skeletor stealing food to get the secrets of Grayskull. That's a bad plot right there. But the execution was awesome. But, like, seriously, stealing the creature's food to get... Wait. Stealing the creature's food to get something that you want. Where have we seen that before? Secret of Omega Supreme. When they broke the asteroid open, turns out the asteroid was the creature's food because there was a baby living inside the asteroid that the Constructicons were...
Okay, you already knew we were going to have a Transformers reference in this episode, so you had to come up with another one.
No, I'm being serious, though. The Constructicons...
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. I think it's a little stretch.
No, it's not a stretch. They are destroying the creature's food.
Yeah, but that was like food that they didn't realize was food. This one, were quite obvious that people wanted the honey.
Still, it works, Stanley. It works.
All right. Anyway, anything else for Snake Mountain?
No.
All right, let's see who gets Power Swords and Havoc Staffs for episode 72.
They must eat several times their body weight just to survive.
Father, I'll find He-Man. In the meantime, Duncan and Tila can go with Buzz Off to the colony.
Good idea, Adam.
Oh, did I hear Adam say He-Man?
Come on, Cringe. We've got a job to do, old buddy.
Here we go again. Why me?
All right, it's award and ranking time. For the Good Shall Survive. I'll start. I have a couple different awards to give out. First of all, I would like to give a Power Sword to both Webstore and He-Man. I liked both of them in this episode. Like you said, a lot of the action was good. I thought it was a cool little introduction for Webstore. So I liked those two characters. I will give a Havoc Staff, though, probably the first time I've ever done this, to Battle Cat for just blundering that whole scene up and causing He-Man to get knocked out. That was not cool by Battle Cat.
I'm going to give a Power Sword to Battle Cat or actually Cringer, because I'll give a Power Sword to Cringer every time he does a funny line, honestly, because for me, it never gets old what any of these writers come up with to have him get out of becoming Battle Cat. I'll also give a Power Sword to both Cobra Khan and Webstore. I like them. I wish they would use Triclops more. I mean, Triclops has been around since the first season. I kind of wish that they would use him a little bit more. But I'm very happy that it's not just Beastman, Trapjaw, Merman. As much as I love those characters, they're getting old. And I'm very happy that this wasn't just another one-off stupid villain we'll never see again. I love that it has to do with, Snake Mountain, and even though Skeletor's plot was lame as hell, as I said before, the execution was very well done.
So 3 Power Swords?
Yes.
You liked Battle Cat in this episode?
Yeah.
All right.
He makes one mistake out of 70-something episodes, yeah. And you obvious. Oh, wait a second. He makes one mistake in 70-something episodes, and you just send him back to the shelter. Really?
No, I just
Come on
with the
now.
Havoc Staff and say, knock it off. Don't do that again. Don't try to be the hero. You're a He-Man. I will say that I actually would not mind seeing a little bit more of a couple of the characters from season 1. I mean, I don't need to see Beastman or Trapjaw, but I could definitely see more Merman. And maybe some more Triclops, because we haven't seen Merman in a long time have any type of actual role, and I don't even know if we will in season 2, since he was more of a season 1 toy / character. But we'll see. But I do agree with you that Webster and Cobra Khan appearing were definitely very cool enough for me to give this episode 4 Battle Cats out of 5. How about you?
Same here, 4 Orcos out of 5. I only took 1 point off because I'm sorry. I know it was a mistake that Orko made, and in his always bumbling up words, but a baking soda, oh my god, that's just ridiculous. So yeah, 4 out of 5 Orcos.
All right, so that's how we start off today. Very positive, both of us giving 4s out. We'll see if that continues or what happens as we go to episode 73, Day of the Machines.
Why is it every time I say Orcos, I feel like I'm friggin' John Stamos in a Dannon commercial?
But be careful.
Looks like a complete success.
I've used the same idea to build a remote control computer. It can guide real ships on hazardous missions with no risk to human life.
Hey! Orko, watch what you're doing.
It's not me.
Something's wrong with the controls. Good grief. It hit the royal chamber. If this had happened an hour later, the king and queen would have been in there.
I'm sorry, Man-at-Arms.
It wasn't your fault, Orko. It was mine. I've failed dozens of times on the remote control project. Just when I thought I had the real computer working, this happens.
All right, episode 73 is where we find ourselves, Day of the Machines, which aired Thursday, September 20th, 1984, written by David Wise. And the plot goes something like this. Man-at-Arms tests his latest invention, a remote control that operates, among other things, a rocket. It malfunctions, the rocket hits the royal chamber. Upset, Man-at-Arms vows to quit his job and resign from his position. Skeletor seizes on the opportunity and duplicates his pet Malabeast into a pure electrical form, which Trapjaw miniaturizes, and then Skeletor teleports the small beast to Man-at-Arms' master computer, which operates all the electrical devices in the royal palace. Once Bite takes hold of the computer, the palace's defense systems begin to attack Adam, Teela, Man-at-Arms, and Cringer. While He-Man fights the computer's attacks, Teela and Battlecat go to Snake Mountain to figure out what's going on, where Teela overhears Trapjaw revealing that Skeletor has implanted the computer with Bite. Meanwhile, Orko uses a shrink ray at Man-at-Arms so that he can go into the computer and find the source of the problem. Man-at-Arms gets trapped in the memory grid, while He-Man goes to the Sorceress so that he too can be shrunk. He-Man frees Man-at-Arms, and they ride the negative energy current to Bite's hiding place, where He-Man ties up the computer beast. Our heroes return to normal size and send Bite back to Snake Mountain to torment Skeletor. So we have Beast Man, Trapjaw, and Skeletor, which we just talked about. And then, of course, the Masters, we have the regulars with an appearance from the Sorceress. And the PSA was basically all about Man-at-Arms' portion in this and how he accepted the responsibility for something which wasn't his fault. He didn't stand around trying to blame someone else. Instead, he did something to try to make it right. So we all make mistakes, but when we do, we shouldn't be afraid to admit them. And when they aren't our fault, well, don't waste precious time putting the blame elsewhere. Just do what you can to make things right. Orko's fun facts. Obviously, writer David Wise would later pen a Transformers episode, not only with the same plot, but with the same title.
Okay, now wait before you continue. Hold on. Wait before you continue. You said this aired September 20th, 1984? Yeah. Correct?
The Orko fun fact says writer David Wise would later pen a Transformer episode.
Okay, no, I understand that, and that's why I let you finish that part, but wait. That episode, Day of the Machines, for the G1 series, Season 2, Episode 14, October 10th, 1985, almost 1 year later between the two episodes.
Okay, yeah, so you're supporting that.
Well, I support the Transformers episode more than this one.
The background used in the computer's interior, you'll later see in Filmation's Ghostbusters episode, so they even used it in a different series. So that's some interesting stuff there. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit about the Day of the Machines aspect, but as far as the plot goes, with the whole machines taking over Energy Beast type angle, what did you think of that?
I liked it. I thought it was interesting. I have way more negatives about this episode than I do positives, though. It just... I don't know. The plot was okay. I think it took him a year to really work on this plot again and really do it much better.
Well, I mean...
in the other series.
It's different. It's a different animal because in the other series you are dealing with all machines and robots and stuff like that, so it's harder to insert this into a sword and sorcery show and make it feel natural. It just fits when you're dealing with a show about big robots and machines and stuff like that. So, I mean, of course you're going to like Transformers better than He-Man, but...
No, now wait a second here. I like them equally, except for this episode. I prefer the one in Transformers over this one.
Okay, fair enough. Decent PSA. Maybe a little too deep for some kids to pick up on, but a decent PSA nonetheless. And of course, right after we talked about liking Cobra Khan and Webstore, we go right back to Beastman and Trapjaw. But Beastman didn't even talk in this episode, so...
Still... he appeared.
I did think it was interesting that he appeared since he had been gone for a long time. I figured he was, like, booted. He was down in a dungeon somewhere or kicked off of Skeletor's team. All right, I'm afraid to do it, but I guess we'll see if you can muster up anything good to say about the He-Man version of Day of the Machines and Castle Grayskull moments coming up.
Hey, I have a lot of valid points when we get to Snake Mountain, damn it.
I doubt it.
I knew I should have quit. It must be some flaw in the computer that I overlooked. This is all my fault.
Couldn't we just turn off the current?
Grief! The central power supply. I hope that computer hasn't gotten to it yet.
Man-at-Arms, wait!
He-Man, that computer couldn't do all this by itself. This whole thing smells of Skeletor.
You could be right, but I can't leave here now.
I can.
It's too dangerous.
If there's a chance that it's Skeletor's sabotage, I owe it to my father to find out. Otherwise, he'll blame himself for this for the rest of his life.
How can you get there? The computer's controlling all our vehicles.
But it doesn't control Battle Cat.
All right, for Man-at-Arms' sake. But be careful. Cat, take Tila to Snake Mountain.
All right, time to say good things about Day of the Machines, Mike. Good things. I loved some of the dialogue in this episode. I thought this was a very well-written episode as far as the dialogue goes, which sometimes is not the case with these episodes. And especially some good moments coming from Skeletor. I loved him basically making fun of his, quote, poor men-at-arms, and like just really playing that out and emphasizing how much of a pity party Man-at-Arms is playing. And then I love when he's talking to Trapjaw. He's, keep your Trapjaw shut. I don't know why I thought that was funny, but I just thought there was some good dialogue, especially what line Skeletor was given. And also interesting to see Tila on Battle Cat. I don't think we've seen that up to this point, or if it is, I have forgotten, but I thought it was a cool angle that Tila actually was on Battle Cat this time instead of He-Man.
I think there might have been an episode where he might have rescued her, or he might have said, put her on my back, or something like that. But
not where she actually was riding him.
No.
Dun, 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 that's what she said. What? No, what about...
It's a cat riding a cat.
What about you there? What good things can you say about this one?
Before the energy beast-looking thingamajig thing, before it got too big, my note was, hey, look, an early model for Crimzeek.
I think there's I have at least seen that shape or form or model of an energy beast type thing at least 3 or 4 different times in different cartoons now.
Yeah.
It just always pops up and they always look like that.
What I'd love to know is the technique or how they got the stock animation to be miniaturized. Like, to give us the size and... Okay, sure, you can hit He-Man and Man-at-Arms with a ray, and we see them smaller, but then when they're on screen running through the computer, we see it almost as if it's the regular stock animation, so I would like to know how they did the miniaturization, and at the same time it still looks like like they're not miniature at all.
Right. I don't know.
So... other than that, nothing.
Oh, come on. Nothing else good to say about this one?
Nothing.
Oh, Lord. People, I'm apologizing early on now for what you're about to have to go through for the rest of this episode.
Oh, shut up.
Let's get Snake Mountain so Mike can get on a soapbox and try to justify his hate for this episode.
Shut up.
Poor Man-at-Arms. His remote control computer has been giving him so many problems. I think we should help him out, Trapjaw.
Help him? Why would you do that?
Why am I surrounded by fools? Just watch me, you pile of scrap iron. Maybe you'll learn something. First, I need the most vicious and evil beast in all my menagerie.
All right, it's time for Mike to take it away with his Snake Mountain moments.
Okay. I have 6 things here.
Lord.
Yeah. I've failed dozens of times on the remote control project. It's time for me to quit. So, Man-at-Arms, what makes this time the last straw? Just because it hit an empty royal chamber? Stop being so down on yourself. Like, seriously, they make this... The David Wise in the writing makes this sound like he has hit the castle, the palace, so many times, but like 10 or 15 times before this time that we see on screen. That's just bad writing. And don't you think you should have said it was a shrinking ray before telling Orko to fire it at you, Man-at-Arms? I mean, this is one time I absolutely love Orko because he's like, I'm not so sure I want to do this. Like, seriously, anytime Orko, and we very rarely see this, anytime Orko is hesitant to do something, to press a button, that's a good moment because, holy crap, the rest of the moment is like Man-at-Arms telling him to do something without actually informing him what the hell it's going to do. That's, again, bad writing.
I don't think it's bad writing.
I do.
No, because it was intentional. He did that so that Orko could have that moment where he's like, what just happened? Like, blah, 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 blah. It's not bad writing. It's just talking about the character. If anything, you can fault Man-at-Arms for not telling Orko, but it's not in the writer's fault.
Wait. Tila drops down into the corner of Bone Brain's throne room. Neither Trapjaw, Skeletor, or whomever else was in the scene heard her land on the floor. Bull snot. Right there. That is a bunch of bull snot.
She's like a ninja. She's like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. They can do stuff and you don't hear it.
Something about what the actual hell instead of trying to find something. What the actual hell? Instead of trying to find Orko to use the machine, they go to Grayskull and use the weakling sorceress. What the hell?
No, that was just because...
That was ridiculous.
No, that was something simple. We have 3 different people that are miniaturized here, and they didn't want them all to be miniaturized in the exact same way, so that's why they had them finding different ways to become miniaturized. Plus, He-Man didn't know about Man-at-Arms being in there or the shrink ray that Man-at-Arms had, so he just went to the person he knew that might have the ability to shrink him, the sorceress, which makes sense.
It's still, he should have looked for Orko instead of going all the way to Grayskull away.
Why would he know and Orko had anything to do with anything? Why would you seek out the court gesture when you need to be shrunk?
Because Orko was the one that shrunk the guy in the first place?
He didn't know
that. Anyway, it's just really, really bad writing on this one.
I disagree. I don't think there's bad writing in this episode.
The last one I have, writing on an energy beam. Seriously?
That is the only example of bad writing in this.
It looks like they're writing on fire. Like, it looks like they're, take their little booties and socks off. It looks like they're, cave people from Bedrock running over hot coals. Oh my god.
Done?
Yeah.
Okay. I also have a problem with Man-at-Arms being the quitter. That's just a weird... I mean, I know that they were trying to get it into the PSA about don't quit on, et cetera, but I thought it didn't make much sense for him to quit his whole job because of this one project being failed. If they were saying, I'm going to give up on the... whatever, on the device that we're using right now, or I'm going to give up on this project, then I'm fine with that. He could have said, like, no, this is going on the scrap heap and toss it aside. That I could have bought. But when he's like, I'm going to resign my position, like that, for one thing, that I don't think people would buy as much. It's not as natural. So I think they could have done that a little bit differently and still got the same thing they were going for, but made it more effective. Wait, Skeletor keeps a spy beam on Man-at-Arms at all times? And he has an unobstructed view from Snake Mountain to Man-at-Arms? Those 2 places aren't even close to each other.
No, not at all.
So that was just a weird thing to throw in there. Like, Skeletor doesn't need that. He could have just got to his, like, little half-globe thing that he does, where he sees people in all parts of Eternia. Like, he doesn't need a beam to do that. So why create a beam that is, first of all, just unrealistic, when he can just look at his thing and be like, oh, this is happening. And then there was just a whole lot of a weird electric/power physics and science going on in this episode that I don't think hold up. So I do have a problem with the whole idea that, you can do this Day of Machines and whatnot, and I get that you're going to infect this thing, but I think there was better ways to do this than to beam this guy all the way over there and then to have them riding energy beams and all the different things that was going on with the physics and the science part. No.
I will say I forgot to kind of bring this up in the Castle Grayskull moments before we get to awards and rankings that I loved the image at the end of Snake Mountain being all blown up because of the energy beast. That made Snake Mountain look really awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, don't even want to know about ratings and stuff here, but we'll do them anyway, so let's get to that part of the show.
Incredible! Well, with that little electronic demon of yours running Man-at-Arms' computer, you control the whole palace and just about every machine in it.
So that's it.
All right, awards and rankings time for Day of the Machines. Let's just get Negative Nancy out of the way first. What Havoc staffs do you have to give out?
David Wise. I don't like the writing in this episode. I don't like the execution in it. I think it was poor all around.
All right. Well, I will give a power sword out for the writing in this episode, basically for the dialogue specifically, and my power sword more directly goes to Skeletor because I thought he had awesome dialogue in this episode.
For rating, 1 out of 5.
1 out of 5. I don't think you're quite fair on this one. Wow. One Orko, he says.
To be fair, I'd probably give 1 Autobot symbol, or, well, actually probably 2 Autobot symbols to the Transformers version of it, so it's not like I'm going to rate either one of these a 5.
I will disagree with you slightly. I don't think it's as bad as you're making it out to be. There are some issues with it and some things that should have been done differently, so I will give this one a 3 Battle Cats out of 5. So 3 for me, 1 for Negative Nancy, and let's head to episode 74 to see if Mike is still Debbie Downer on this episode or if he cheers up a little bit. The Cat and the Spider coming up next.
Is this what we've been looking for, Malakfa?
We'll know for sure once we clear those vines away.
Why, it looks like a cat.
The Temple of the Cat, to be precise. And that means those ancient books were correct. There was a race of cat folk living in this jungle.
But what happened to them?
No one really knows. But perhaps we can learn something more by exploring this temple.
All right, time for episode 74. Last one for today, The Cat and the Spider. Aired Friday. It's how we ended our week, September 21st, 1984. And we got this episode from the writings of Larry DiTillio. Adam and Malekitha, a returning character there, investigate the Temple of the Cat, where He-Man retrieves a mysterious feline statue after enduring several magical obstacles. A spy for the cat people reports the incident to King Paw, who sends his emissary, Katrina, stop typing, to the royal palace. Overnight, Katrina tries to steal, but an alarm alerts Teela, who stops her. Both are surprised when Webstore comes in and climbs into the window and steals the statue from them. He-Man follows Webstore to Snake Mountain, where Skeletor uses an illusion to trick Battlecat into an underground trap. Webster and Skeletor overpower He-Man. Teela and Katrina join forces and attack Snake Mountain and the Wind Raider, but Skeletor's nullifier ray crashes them. With Teela knocked out, Katrina is left on her own, but she quickly finds Battlecat and the two of them enter Snake Mountain. Webster and Katrina battle, while Battlecat frees He-Man. Skeletor has already released the Grimalkin beast from its statue, but the monster takes over, growing ever larger until it breaks out of the side of the Snake Mountain. He-Man, Teela, Battlecat, and Katrina run to a nearby mountaintop where He-Man uses his sword and the power of a storm to return Grimalkin to its statue holding. The Grimalkin statue is returned to the cat people after the Eternians and Katrina realize they shouldn't have mistrusted each other in the first place. For the Masters of the Universe, we have the regulars, and for the Evil Warriors, we have Skeletor and Webstore. The PSA is about Katrina and Adam saying how you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. You shouldn't mistrust people just because you don't know about them. It's all about races and stuff like that, basically underlying the stuff there. Also, shortly after being shocked by Katrina, King Paw mentions the Whiskers of Saz. This would be repeated in a She-Ra episode, and Whiskers of Saz is simply whiskers of Larry DiTillio's cat, who is named Saz. So yeah, and that's just about all. The room where He-Man is imprisoned and Skeletor examines the Grimalkin statue is actually in Negator's prison from the episode game plan. So obviously we know there's a lot of stock footage used over.
Stock footage, yeah.
But what did you think about this whole plot with the cat people?
I like it. I like seeing Katrina as a new character, but it's not like the best plot we've ever seen. First of all, why? We've had 70-something episodes out of 130 so far. Skeletor has done this type of plot so many times before, where he'll find something, he'll want it because he wants the power, he'll open it up, he then cannot control it, and He-Man has to come in and save the day. Seriously? Has he not learned in nearly 70-something episodes?
He's a villain. Sometimes they just don't learn. I do agree. I like Katrina. I actually should say that I watched this episode with the audio commentary on, which was, God, I said his name earlier, but the guy who did all the special features, and Larry DiTillio himself. So I got to listen to them talk about the episode a little bit, and he was very much pleased with Katrina, and he really liked that as a character. He liked what Linda Gary did with Katrina, and I have to agree. I think that character was good enough where it could have been a recurring character.
She could have been a replacement for Teela altogether.
Not necessarily, but she
yes,
could have.
necessarily.
been, seen more than that. And I agree with him on that part of it. But decent to see. Like I said, it's kind of similar to the first episode we talked about, where we have these different species, not just like a couple characters, but we have the entire cat people. So, we were introduced to Katrina, to King Paw. There was, a guard that talked, and there were some other people in the background. So you get this idea of entire races of people. It almost reminds me more so of Thundercats, though, where we're having the bee people and the cat people and stuff like that, where, typically we haven't had a lot of that in He-Man. We haven't had like the animal people as much as just different types of like humans and humanoid figures. But
well, if you think about it, in He-Man's history, you have multiple animal or reptile
right
races.
I was just saying, like, up to this point we had gotten more.
Right,
we have like Fisto, who's like a person, or we have like different villains that are people trying to do things, or monsters. We've gotten a lot of monsters, but up to this point there hasn't been a ton of animal like people, but now we're getting a healthy dose.
We've got Stratos and the birds, we've got Buzz-Off and the bees, you've got the Preternias, or the Preternians, the snake people, and the... Oh, who did they used to fight? I forget. Anyway, there's a bunch of them. So.
All right. Well, like I said, decent plot, decent new characters, etc. So we'll see if we can say some good stuff, or if like last episode, we're going to have Nancy or not. Let's see what we can get at Castle Grayskull for the last time.
Yeah, there must be a way in.
I believe this should do it. Shall I lead the way?
Well, you are the royal archaeologist.
Fascinating. These carvings show that the catfolk had a high degree of intelligence and artistic ability.
Malactha, hold on, I'll get a rope. No time for a rope now. By the power of Grayskull!
How do you feel, old friend?
He-Man, where's the prince?
He's safe, but I'm more concerned about you.
I'm all right. No bones broken. I'm just a little sore.
Well, I think you should take it easy for a while.
But the temple, I must find out what's inside. Oh.
You're in no shape to go exploring right now. I'll check the temple out for you.
Thank you, He-Man, but be careful. Chances are there are more traps.
All right, it's Castle Grayskull for the last time in today's episode. Highlights. First of all, as far as the Cat and the Spider goes, I like the whole booby traps and the archaeology setting. Obviously that's why we have Malactha there. But I just like that type of stuff, kind of an Indiana Jones feel. Larry DiTillio said it was very much like a dungeon crawl in like D&D or other role-playing games that he was into at the time, where you have a lot of different booby traps or obstacles to go through. So I liked that setting. Like I said, I like Katrina and the Cat People. I like Web Store. So I think there was some stuff to like in this episode. Not like a bunch of different moments to like, but just like overall, the feel of the episode and the people involved. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's an overall good episode. It's an overall very well-written episode, unlike the last one. DiTillio really does pay more. And I think that's the thing, I think we mentioned this off air, but David Wise was not the biggest fan of writing for this series. And whereas Larry DiTillio, he was more so, he hit the ground running. The sword and the sorcery stuff, that was his thing.
He also said this is one of the episodes that he really liked that he did.
Yeah. I'm sure that's what I think, if I remember correctly from those commentaries, he had said that his number one favorites were the Granomir episodes, and then after that is this one and a few others. For me, I wasn't sure what that creature was at the beginning. I wrote down a dragon dog or a devil dog, or I have no idea what the red creature was supposed to be in the very beginning of the show. Because it looked like it was half dragon and half dog.
Yeah. No, I think that's what it's basically supposed to be.
Yeah. Battlecat was really resourceful this time around, digging himself out. I love that. I love, I almost called her Catra, Katrina. I love her as a character. I wish we would see more of her. I don't think we will, sadly. But she really made this episode for me. And having kind of, Skeletor kind of taking a back seat and having Webstore do all the work, that was really interesting.
Yeah, and they mentioned that a little bit in the commentary, too. And also I guess we know where we can lay the blame for a few of our other gripes towards the end of Season 1 and now into Season 2. But they basically said that they were, because he said he basically almost had a hand on every script as someone who would rewrite it or edit it, get it in its final form or whatever. But he basically said, that it was him and Robbie London was doing most of the work. He mentioned a few other people, but he said the overall feeling was that in Season 1 they used Skeletor too much, is what they felt. Now, maybe they were only talking about the first half of Season 1, I don't know, because Skeletor doesn't hardly even show up in the second half. But they were saying that they felt like they used Skeletor too much and that the plot was always, Skeletor, finds this thing to attack He-Man with. He-Man, they were using the same plot over and over again, just Skeletor. So they were trying to find, he said they made a concerted effort in Season 2 to try to find other people to focus on, or if they did have Skeletor, to have him more of a backseat person, where it's not just him doing the main action. Now, I mean, I can understand part of that, but I think they're wrong I think they were wrong thinking that they used Skeletor too much. I think maybe if you use the same plot over, yes, if you use the exact same way, but I think there was ways to use Skeletor in different ways, and people wanted to see Skeletor in the Evil Warriors. So I think they were a little confused as to what the audience would think. And they used Skeletor a lot, but I don't think the audience was tired of him. And I think there was ways that they could have used him. So I'm hoping that this doesn't mean that we're going to see even less of him now in Season 2.
Well, I do know it's been about, 3 episodes since we did our Season 1 recap. Did you do a list of how many... I think you did, a list of... Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you counted how many episodes Skeletor was in versus how many he wasn't.
Right.
And there could have been a number of the ones that he wasn't that you could have just completely done away with those one-off villains that nobody... If you're going to do a one-off villain or a villain of the week and never bring them back or give them some sort of continuity, and I know back then the show wasn't about continuity, I get it, but, if you're just going to write them as a villain of the week and never use them as another villain of the week plot again later, then it's absolutely useless. It'd be more beneficial to us as the viewers to put Skeletor in there.
Right.
To put Triclops in there, to put Evil Lyn in there, to put Clawful in there, even though I can't stand Clawful. I mean, anybody except a villain of the week.
Well, there's so much that they haven't. Like, I can understand that they say that they've used Skeletor a lot and that he's done the same plot similar, a bunch of times, but they've never really done much with his origin. There's so much other stuff that they could have explored with all the other Evil Warriors outside of maybe Beastman and Evil Lyn a bit. But they definitely could have gone into... I mean, they've only had one episode for Merman. They've really hardly had any episodes to focus on Triclops as a character. There's...
I honestly don't even remember the last time or the first time we ever saw Triclops.
So I just think, you didn't need the Skeletor to be the main person, but you could have focused a little bit more on some of the Evil Warriors. You didn't just have to go out and find outside villains. Like, there's other characters that you could have given us episodes about. So, I don't know. I understand what they were thinking and what their logic was, but I think it was a little bit misplaced. But anyways, let's get to Snake Mountain and see what evil things we have to say about this episode.
Malactha, look what He-Man found in the temple.
A magnificent piece. Did he have much trouble finding it?
Well, it was pretty well guarded.
I must thank him.
Well, he's already gone.
Well, I'll just have to thank him another time, then. Right now, I believe we should take this back to the royal palace where I can study it further.
I must tell King Pa. King Pa! King Pa! My king, the Grimalkin statue, it's been taken. What? Well, 2 humans found the way into the temple. They took the statue and left with it.
Go tell Katrina to come to my chamber at once. I must know more.
All right, for the last time, we find ourselves at Snake Mountain for the cat and the spider, Katrina and Webster. I hate it when they do this. I really hate it when they do this. Really wish they would stop giving He-Man these magical powers outside of just being strong. He-Man brings the rain and the lightning. So apparently He-Man picks up this entire... He breaks off this rock of salts and different chemicals that normally would cause clouds to cover and rain to happen over time. But apparently if you just throw a big rock like that into the sky, rain will come instantly. And not only that, then you can use your power sword and harness the power of the lightning, which actually takes over your entire body, and then shoot it at something. I might be able to buy the power sword part if it wasn't for the rain part right before that. I just hate that they keep trying to make him with these like magical powers. No, he's just supposed to be strong, folks. He's supposed to be strong. He can break things. He can overpower people. He can hit things. He has a power sword that he can use, but let's not let him be a rainmaker.
He was bringing the thunder that day.
I hate that. The whole idea of Katrina and Battle Cat being interested in each other, which I understand, like she's Katrina, which is a cat person, and Battle Cat's a cat, but I feel like people might be confused about that whole thing because she's still a humanoid form. She's still someone who's walking upright on 2 feet, and let's not try to send too many mixed messages and build future animal lovers. I feel like kids would be like, oh, it's okay to have romantic feelings for your Battle Cat. I'm just kidding. I know that's a huge stretch, but I just find it weird that even though they're both cats, that one's a legit cat and one's a humanoid cat, so it's weird that they liked each other. And my last thing, as much as they got Buzz-Off's voice wrong, I think they got Webster's voice wrong too. And actually, Larry DiTilio was even agreeing with this. He said that they wish they would have done something better with the Webster's voice. He gave the voice actors a lot of compliments, but he did say that he thought they missed it with Webster, and that he needed to be less comical and more intimidating and more of a presence. So I agree. I think they missed voices with both Buzz-Off and Webster.
I love how funny and pitiful it has become when He-Man uses the excuse that Adam is safe, and everyone just goes on believing it without question.
Right.
Like, seriously. The power of the storm, and then magically there just happened to be storm clouds appearing. Oh my god. Yay, the science of weather. This episode is better than Day of the Machines, but not by much.
I agree it's better, and I agree not by much, but I think
very
different.
Like, okay, well, when it comes to the whole weather thing, that's what I mean by the not by much. As far as Battle Cat and Katrina having feelings for each other or whatever else, I don't know. It almost strikes me that Battle Cat was once human. I know he wasn't, but the way that Oppenheimer sometimes does his characterization in the voice and in the lines that are given to Battle Cat, it seems he's more human than what he should be as far as a giant green tiger.
Yeah.
So I didn't quite mind that. I thought it was kind of interesting that they kind of give him a love interest a little bit. Again, I wish that we would have seen Katrina more. I think that's a poor decision, not using her more. But other than that, yeah, overall, I did enjoy the episode outside of the whole weather crap.
Yeah. All right, well, let's see what we hand out this one. We've done 4s and 1s for you so far, and I did a 4 and a 3, so we'll see where we end up with the cat and the spider.
That's the goofiest looking cat I've ever seen.
Oh, I don't like it. It's too scary.
Ah, Cringer, you think everything's too scary.
Well, only because everything usually is.
Cringer may be right about the statue. It might very well have some evil power about it.
Evil power? Oh, Adam, why don't we take a vacation for a while? Someplace far away from here.
Don't worry, Cringer. My magic will protect you.
Oh, now I'm really scared.
All right, it's Power Sword and Havoc staff time for episode 74. I will be giving out one award only, and that is a Power Sword to Katrina. I think she's a good character. She should have been used more. I like the look. I like the voice that Linda Gary uses for her. I liked her her strength. I liked her, even though it was weird for her and the Battle Cat to have like the romantic interest, I thought it was good that they had that relationship where they had to team up and whatnot. So Power Sword to Katrina. Well, how about you, Mr. Typer?
I wasn't typing,
Flicker.
I was scrolling. Anyway, I'm gonna give a Power Sword to Battle Cat. I liked him in this episode. I thought he was pretty funny. I'll give one to Katrina too, because she is a new character, and sadly we probably won't ever see her again.
All right, then what about your final rating of the day?
I'll give this one a 3 out of 5 Orcos.
Way up there.
Yeah.
For you.
It was, like I said, it was better than Day of the Machines.
I agree, it was better. So I will go from a 3 that I gave the Day of Machines and go to a 3.5 for the Cat and the Spider. I have to take some points off for all the science and nonsense, but 3.5 for me, 3 for you. And what are your overall thoughts so far for season 2?
So far, I don't know,
we got some new characters that we asked for. We got to see Webster, Cobra Khan, Buzz Off. Even if Katrina's not used again, it's a new character. Maybe you can consider it one-off or whatever. But we did get some more evil villains and some more masters. We got Skeletor in a couple episodes.
Yeah,
so we got a little of what we have been asking for.
Yeah, just need more.
Need more, he says. I just want an all-out Masters versus Evil Warriors with no other characters. No energy beasts, no random other aliens or humans or whatever. Just straight up, let's get a good old battle. Evil Warriors versus Masters. I need some of that. That's what I want.
Yep, I agree.
Or a specific one-on-one type of episode where it's like, not, I'm just using this because it's the easiest example, but like an Evelyn and Tila episode, but like different, but other characters, like, whoever, Stratos and Merman or something. Like, give me a focus where it's just one each, where they're battling stuff out. But
yeah.
But other than that, I'm not too upset. I mean, I gave a 4 and a 3.5 and a 3 to today's episode, so I'm not overly upset with the episodes. I just am waiting for something just to get me excited about these episodes.
Absolutely.
I mean, I am excited to see what else we have for season 2, and I know there's a lot of characters that we still have to see, but I'm just wanting to see some of these episodes now.
We learned today that there are right ways and wrong ways of getting what you want. If someone has something you want, say a toy you'd like to play with, or maybe some candy or cake, don't just take it. That's stealing. And chances are you'll only bring out the anger in the other person. But if you ask rather than take, or if it's yours, offer to share, you'll get back more than you give. Like maybe even a new friend. Right, Orko? See you next time.
Grab your helmets, because it's time to assemble Mask. Mask Mayhem is here with your hosts TFG1Mike, OptimusSolo, and brand new host Toon Master Tim. This podcast, covering all 75 episodes of Mask, will feature in-depth analysis of every episode, talking the toys, and more. Mask Mayhem will run 30 podcast episodes. You can find us on iTunes and www.geekcastradio.com. So get your spectrums ready, as podcasting is the ultimate weapon.
In today's story, my father accepted the responsibility for something which wasn't his fault. And he didn't stand around trying to blame someone else. Instead, he did something about making things right. And And he succeeded, with a little help from He-Man. Now, we all make mistakes, and when we do, we shouldn't be afraid to admit them. And when they aren't our fault, well, don't waste precious time putting the blame elsewhere. Just do what you can to make things right. See y'all soon.
Ah, brave new world that has such putzes in it. You know, kids, a lot has changed while your old Uncle Joker's been away. New Gotham, new rules, even a new Batman.
It isn't 65 years in the future, but Legends of the Dark Knight has gone beyond. Batman Beyond, that is.
Ah, the new boy. Ears are too long and I miss the cape, but not too shabby. Not too shabby at all.
Join Steve and Mike as they delve into the remaining episodes of the podcast, where they'll cover Batman Beyond, products, games, and more. Check it out only on GeekCastRadio.com.
In today's story, I made the mistake of not trusting the people of Eternia just because they were different.
You can't judge a book by its cover means you can't tell from the outside what something is like on the inside. And that goes for books as well as people. Not liking a person because he or she is a different race or religion is wrong. People should be judged for themselves. Right, Katrina?
Right you are, Adam. Right you are.
So long.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Tales of Eternia. Thank you for listening. There's some ways to get in contact with us. Visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on all of our different posts. You can also check out the brand new design. It's fully interactive. You can have your own ratings on some of our written reviews, the newer ones, and everything else. Send email to feedback@geekcastradio.com. Leave the show's feedback in iTunes. Please do this. Follow us on Twitter @GeekCastRadio is the show's Twitter. Mine is TFG1Mike. What is your Twitter?
OptimusSolo.
Become a fan on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/Geekcast or Radio Network. Call the voicemail line. Tell us the show you're leaving the message for and your name. 502-526-5821. Sometimes Skeletor picks up. I don't know why. We hope you enjoyed the tales today, and don't forget to join us in our next adventure when we will continue Season 2 discussing episodes 75, 76, and 77. Trouble in Tralla, the Great Books Mystery. That looks like a weird-ass title. And The Origin of the Sorceress. Holy crap. That's the last thing we need.
Oh, I think it's exactly what I've been asking for. Anytime an episode has the word origin in it, I am all for it.
Yeah. For now, I am OptimusSolo with...
You're an idiot. That's what you are. You're an idiot.
For now, I'm TFG1Mike with...
OptimusSolo.
I wonder how many people will be confused by that.
None. They'll just think you're an idiot.
Asshole. The powers of Grayskull. You all have the power.
Why not send him back to where he came from? Let him play around in Skeletor's computers.